So we are again in chapter 5 of Proverbs. We're at verse 15. We just heard, don't seek after adulteresses. She's going to ruin your life. Go to the wisdom of those who taught you. And if you seek after adulteress, other people are going to have your wealth. So let's go to 15. A little good advice here. Drink water from your own cistern, running water from your own well. That means be with your own wife. Be with the woman that God gave you as flesh of your flesh. Or wives, be with your own husband. Be with the man that God gave you as flesh of your own flesh. That's where you seek what supports your body and what supports your soul, what encourages and grows you. Water. Water is necessary for life. It's also the things which strengthens you and renews you. If you stay with your wife, your life is better. Even if you're going through hard times, even if you're going through dementia, cancer, if your wife is, or your husband are having emotional difficulties, you still need to seek after them. That's where God has placed the place for you to seek that marital support, that marital love. But here it does describe it wonderfully as water in your own cistern, running water from your own well. 16. Should your springs overflow in the streets, your streams of water in the public squares? Are you going to just let your well pour out so that anyone can have it? If you start seeking after other women, is your wife now going to be open to other men? I say no. Obviously, this picture muddy streets of the wasting of this wonderful resource, particularly in a dry clime. Often in Israel, it is probably a dry clime. I haven't been there, but that's what it seems to be. No, seek after your own wife. Guard and treasure your wife. Certainly don't expose her to others' pleasures. 17. Let these waters, let your wife be yours alone, never to be shared with strangers. Okay? God is a jealous God, and it's okay to be a jealous, not in the bad sense, but in the positive sense, husband. This is my wife. This is no one else's. This is my husband. He is no one else's. And we're going to bind together. Yeah, that's a good thing. 18. May your fountain be blessed, and may you rejoice in the wife of your youth. Interesting statement. Some have studied questions of beauty, and they've noted that people who are married for a long time, yes, they see the person in front of them, but they also see the person whom they married. They will always see that person who they married. As they age, they'll see the glory of their beauty and their youth. They'll actually expand if you have a marriage where you are cherishing one another in your love of the other, right? As you cherish your wife, you grow to love her more and see more of her beauty. As a wife cherishes her husband and honors her husband, the same happens. And so here's Solomon in his old age describing his wife as young. Here in 19, a loving doe, a graceful deer. He describes her as the beautiful wife whom he married. And she will always be that beautiful wife he married. Even as you get old and wrinkly and others are looking at you and going, well, not much there. In your love with one another, in your building together as one, that beauty remains. So he goes on in the second half of 19, may her breasts satisfy you always. May you ever be captivated by her love. 20. Why be captivated, my son, by an adulteress? Why embrace the bosom of another man's wife? You have enough at home. You have more than enough at home. So I say, if you really think about it, why would a woman marry, a guy like me? Is it because I am the most pleasant smelling? Probably not. Is it because I am the most beautiful? Certainly not. Um, it is because God has made her a great gift to me, and he has made me a gift to her. Um, but you've got that. You've got the gift. You've got the best. My wife is the best. You should be thinking your wife is the best, but I know it happens to be my wife. My wife is the best, and I have her. So I don't need anything else. And despite the urgings of sin in our flesh, which say that we should sample other places and we should get other pleasures, and there's something better on the other side of the hill, the grass is always greener. Someone's saying it's not. The best love, the best nourishment for me is the woman that I married. Okay, 21. For a man's ways are in full view of the Lord, and he examines all his paths. The evil deeds of a wicked man ensnare him. The cords of his sin hold him fast. He will die for lack of discipline, led astray by his own great folly. God sees and knows all. And God is the one who acts and intervenes in our lives to give us his great blessings. In marriage, God is the one who puts the man and the woman together. He does this in civil weddings. He does this in sacred weddings. But in civil weddings, because we turn our ways and our eyes sometimes, this can be a curse, right? In sacred weddings too, if we turn our eyes and our ways away from God, this can be a curse. It leads to death. That leads to this turmoil in marriage, and there will always be some fighting, even in the best of marriages, because we're sinners. But if you turn away from the blessings of God, if you don't see the ways of God, and you come together selfishly, and not as servants of one another, not as those who see the other as even more important than ourself, as part of ourself. When you turn away from God, you're entrapped in a terrible and wicked thing. And the marriage becomes a horrid, painful, psychologically, physically, emotionally draining, sometimes abusive, etc. thing. Because you're following in your ways. You've trapped yourself in your ways. And that's when really that adulteress starts looking really good, because you haven't been following the ways of God. You haven't been serving your spouse. Your spouse hasn't been serving you. You haven't been serving God as husband and wife. So here he says, God knows your ways. He examines your path. He's going to give you blessings because he loves you. He's going to give you what is good for you because he loves you. But when you turn your back on him, when you reject him, rather than receiving those blessings, you receive death, and you're locked into this trap of an evil marriage. And, in the end, you will die, right? And the marriage will die. And the couple comes into me, and we try our best to help them return back to the marriage God meant. But at some point, sometimes that marriage does snap apart, particularly when there's adultery involved. Jesus gave the two reasons for divorce that are not sinful reasons. And those reasons were adultery and desertion. Adultery, in those cases, the trust, the love has been broken and snapped and pulled apart. Desertion, it can involve many things. It can involve loving something else ahead of family and wife, or ahead of husband, including children, by the way. It can involve alcohol, drugs. It can involve leaving and not supporting, not giving the financial support that the spouse needs. So these are causes of divorce. But we bring them together in the marriage counseling to try to seek back the ways of God. Come back to this idea that we love one another, that we serve one another, that in that other person, ultimately, you should find the gifts of God given in a much better life. So the warning is given here at the end. Don't seek the adultery. Don't seek those other things. Seek your own wife. That's where God means to bless you. That's where you will receive the good gifts of life. We close chapter 5.